Good morning. We are going to talk about lubrication system in our engine. And we will start with the lubrication terminologies, then we check on the need for lubrication, and the third one is our lubrication layout system of our engine. We'll start with our lubrication terminologies, which is number one is the flow. We'll check on the viscosity index, and we'll check on the SI number, multigrade oils, and the oiliness, the flash point, and the solidification point. Let us start with the flow. What is flow? Flow is the ability of the oil to spread easily over the surfaces and to pass easily through holes and clearances. Then viscosity. Viscosity is the degree of fluidity or the thickness at a certain temperature. A thick oil has high viscosity, whereas a thin oil has a low viscosity. The viscosity index, an oil's viscosity is dependent on its temperature, i.e., when the temperature is lower, the oil is thicker and the viscosity is then higher. And when the temperature is higher, the oil is thinner and the viscosity is then lower. Multigrade oils. These are oils containing an additive which reduces the effect of temperature on their viscosity, i.e., they thicken less when cold and thin less when hot. Then let us check on the SI number. The SI number was established by the American Society of Automotive Engineers in order to classify oils by their viscosity. SI numbers in no way refer to the quality or any special properties of the oil. Let us check on point number 5 on the oiliness. Oiliness is a measure of its capacity to stick on the surfaces of machine parts under conditions of heavy pressure or load. The property of lubricants by virtue of which one fluid gives lower coefficients of friction, generally low speeds or high loads, than any another fluid of same viscosity. Then the flash point. In flash point, when the oil is heated, its most volatile components will evaporate fast. If these components come into contact with the flame, they will flare up momentarily and then immediately extinguish themselves. Then we check on the solidification point. The solidification point is the temperature at which the oil no longer flows. Let us check on the types of lubrication. The types of lubrication, you have the three categories. You have the full fluid lubrication, you have the partial, boundary, or the thin film lubrication, and the third one is the no friction, no lubrication, i.e. the dry friction. In full fluid lubrication, you have the fluid in excess or in plenty during the lubrication of the system, i.e. the fluid is in plenty. Then we have the partial or the boundary. We have the fluid is less or it's in minimum. Then the no lubrication is a scenario whereby the metal wrap one another without any lubrication at all. Thus, it's prone to heat generation, expansion, wear, and seizing. Functions of Functions for engine lubrication or the need for engine lubrication is the reduction of friction. Number two is cooling. Number three is sealing. Number four is cleaning, and number five is dampening of sound. In in reduction of friction, when metal parts rub one another, move against each other, they produce friction, i.e., the fluid or the oil will lubricate the parts that are moving, i.e., in our engine we have nearly all the parts are moving. Thus, there's a lot of friction being created. Therefore, the need for lubrication. Cooling is a lot of our engine parts, especially the cylinder walls and the combustion chamber, require some of the cooling in our engine system. Then the sealing is in between or between the cylinders and the piston rings. We need to seal so that we avoid the escape of pressures or heat from the combustion chamber to the crankcase. Then the loss of oil via the combustion chamber. So we need not to take our oil to the combustion chamber. Thus, that might lead to burning of the oils that will produce the excess smoke or the blue smoke normally occurring after the air fuel or the air is burnt with the oils. Then we'll check on the cleaning. In cleaning, there's wear and tear during the movement of our engine components. Thus, there is a need for there is a need for our engine cleaning so that we deposit all the impending particles to the sump. Then the dampening of sound. An oil film in metal parts considerably dampens the metallic sound of the engine. The fact that the crankcase is filled with oil partially dampens metallic sound in in dampens the metallic sound. Then let us check the third point, which is the lubrication system layout. In lubrication system layout, we'll check on the various components of our lubrication system, whereby you have the crankcase, also known as the oil pan, which stores the oil. Then we have the oil strainer or the strainer that sieves the impending particles in our system. Then we have the pressure relief valve, which relieves our pressure that is being built up during the lubrication of our systems. Then we have the oil pump. The oil pumps are the gadgets that will transfer the fluid from the oil sump to various components. Then we have the oil filter. That is a filter that sieves all the particulates, all the matters that are more prone or that might damage our engine components. Then the areas that we need to lubricate is our crankshaft. Then we have the intermediate shaft, we have the camshaft, and we have the cylinder walls, and also the valve guides. The valve guides, those are the areas that requires the lubrication in our day-to-day lubrication system. Then there is three types of oil pumps that is being used during our operation. We have the gear type, we have the rotor type, and we have the sickle pump. All those pumps have the similar operation, but they have different operations but perform the same work on different areas. Then we have the monitoring switch. Oil monitoring switch is used to monitor the oils that are available in our engines. The engine requires a lot of lubrication so as to cool and quench our engine from the heat being generated by the moving parts of the engine. Then we have the last part, which is the oil pressure. In oil pressure, it is dependent on the three areas whereby you have the capacity of the oil pump, the wear and tear of the engine, and the viscosity thickness of the oil. The last part and not the least is the oil filter. In oil filter, you have the three types of oil filters being mounted on our units or our engines. The first oil filter is the full flow filters, which is in the series filters, the bypass filters, also known as the parallel filters, and the combination oil filters, which combines the full flow and the bypass filters. Having said all of them, those are part of our lubrication systems, whereby you have talked of the lubrication terminologies, the need for lubrication, and the lubrication of the engine layout. Thank you.